Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Raya and I make videos on conscious living, anything from sustainability to self-love, and today I'm sharing a super exciting story of how I got to meet Oprah, who was like one of my ultimate inspirations, role models, and a couple days ago I got to see her on tour, which was amazing, and I got the opportunity to meet her briefly and chat to her, and she actually personally recommended a book to me, which I will share with you at the end of the video. But first I wanted to share my top 4 lessons and takeaways that I took away from seeing her on tour, and then I'll share with you the story of how I met her and the book that she recommended.
What I learned from all those years on the Oprah show, 25 years, I learned that there's a common denominator. There is a thread in our human experience. What we all want is to be able to live the truest, highest expression of ourselves as a human being. Is that not true? You just want to be able to fully do the thing that you came to the planet to do. What is the fullest, highest, purest expression of you as a human being on the planet Earth in 2020.
So the whole day was centered around wellness of the mind, body, and soul. And the first thing that I wanted to share with you guys was that Oprah was sharing with us really vulnerably about her journey with body love and acceptance and her fluctuating body weight. And specifically, she told us a story from, I think, the early 90s where she, or maybe even late 80s, basically she was on a talk show, I think her first ever national talk show, and she got completely humiliated and called out for her body.
So how'd you gain the weight? I ate a lot. No, you said 50 pounds. You shouldn't let that happen to you. You're very pretty.
You know what?
No, I don't want to hear.
Let me tell you this.
Let me tell you something. Pretty girl and you're single. You must lose the weight.
Watching that back now makes me so sick and just heartbroken for her, and you could tell as she was sharing the story of the behind the scenes of this interview that it was still like a raw subject for her. And I mean, I can just imagine her being so young and she was so excited to be on this interview. And basically, apparently before the interviews, there's always like a pre-interview where they kind of talk to you about all the things that they'll ask you. And they obviously didn't bring this up for her. And so she was completely like in the moment, kind of caught and didn't really know what to say. And she was trying to make a joke out of it. But underneath all that, she was like heartbroken and mortified. And yeah, you could even tell now, however many, like 30 years later, that it still was a touchy subject for her. So a few years after that, obviously that like all started a spiral, and she ended up losing 67 pounds on a crazy, super unhealthy, extreme fast, basically. And this is a clip of her coming back to her TV show with a wagon of 67 pounds of fat to like show how much she lost.
At the time, I felt it was important to show it in that way because I'd starved. I'd literally starved for 4 months or 4.5 months, and thought, well, everybody's gonna wanna know how you lost the weight, so you might as well tell them. 4 months, not a morsel of food. I gotta tell you, during that time, I planned a vacation to the south of France. I gave that vacation away to friends. I planned to do some other things. Anything that involved being around food at all, I just canceled anything that was gonna put me any place where I could smell or come in contact with food.
Ultimately, after that experience and many more years of more yo-yo diets, Oprah came to this massive realization.
There in that photo, that morning, I was 142 pounds. By the next day, I was 145. And by the end of the week, I was 150. And I remember getting a phone call from Don Johnson, who was doing Miami Vice at the time. Don Johnson called and was having a Christmas party and invited Seven and I to the Christmas party, and I was like, can't go. I've gained too much weight. The shame had started to set in. And then 3 years after that wagon of fat moment, I had gained all the weight back, plus 26 pounds. And this is what I wrote in my journal, February of 1991. I said, I caught a glimpse of myself reflected in the store window. I didn't recognize the fat lady staring back at me. Stedman says, I'm not even close to my potential as a human being, that I let the weight be a barrier. He's right. Sometimes I can feel the connection between my own fears and the weight. So what am I afraid of? That's the question. The answer can set me free. Whoa. As early as 1991, I knew that it wasn't just about, I love potato chips, Joan. I realized that there was a fear holding me back. And as is the case for me, is also the case for all of us. When you start asking the right questions, the right answers show up.
And this is actually something that I talked about in my last video about how every addiction or negative behavior that we have is trying to fill like a hole or a void within us. And the most important thing is to ask ourselves the right questions of what is it that I'm really missing that I'm trying to fill with, in this case, food, or in other cases could be, you know, addiction, substance abuse, so many different things, shopping. I talked all about that in my other video, so make sure you check that out. But yeah, I just love that Oprah shared this is also a huge part of her own journey, and that it took something even more extreme for her to really, really feel gratitude and respect and love for her body.
And then something happened to me this past year that made me think, how dare me not celebrate every single fiber of my body and my being. Last fall, I became ill. I got happy recognizing, wow, look what my body did with the help of antibiotics. Look at what happened. I was able to heal myself, big breasts and all. How could I have ever lived one moment being ashamed, regretting any part of this extraordinary, miraculous machine we all have been given? So this is what I learned. I know we all have, no matter where we are in our lives right now, the capacity to heal.
I love that she shared this story and that she shared the deep, deep gratitude that she now feels towards her body and how it heals and keeps her safe and protected at all times. And I also actually made a video about this kind of thing, and this specifically so far has been the biggest shift for me in my personal journey with my body love, and that is to switch our focus from the aesthetics of our body to its function, and to focus on the fact that it's healthy and that it's healing, and that all these different parts of our body that we might be ashamed of because of how they look, if we actually ask ourselves, what is the function of my legs, of my stomach, of my arms, of whatever it is, and you focus on that and you feel gratitude for the fact that you are strong and capable and alive and healthy and all these other things, like focusing on the function and just feeling gratitude for that, for me, has made the biggest difference on my journey. So yeah, I love that Oprah shared that as well, and it was just a beautiful moment. The second big lesson that I took away was about forgiveness, and Oprah shared a very raw and vulnerable story about losing her mom. She passed away a couple of years ago, and they'd had a very complicated relationship throughout her whole life, and she definitely felt abandoned by her and unloved by her own mom. So on her last few days on earth, there was just a lot around Oprah not really knowing what to say to her, even though there was so much to say. And especially I think this was super hard for her because she's literally known for speaking and for like having the right things to say. But in this moment, I guess where it really mattered most, she just didn't really know what to do and say. And there was just so much around that, around one, her forgiving her mom for everything that she has and hasn't done throughout her life, and also, even more importantly, forgiving herself, especially in that moment, for not necessarily having the perfect thing to say, but just accepting that she's human and that kind of whatever happened was meant to happen. Again, everyone in the audience just like looks up to Oprah so much, so for her to kind of, you know, bring it back to earth and share the times that she struggled with all of these things was, yeah, just like a really touching moment to be in that room and, yeah, just kind of share the energy with everyone.
So I don't want anybody here who has somebody you need to forgive to leave here today without thinking about what that process for you is going to look like, is going to be like. And even if you don't go to the person today and let them know, because people often think that, oh, if I forgive you, it means I've condoned whatever you did. No, it means you're not letting it hold you back anymore. You're not going to be held by what didn't, woulda, coulda, shoulda, mighta happened. And it did not. It is over. The divorce is done. It's gone. It's finished. Let it go.
One of my favorite quotes about forgiveness is, holding a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And that is just so what it is. Like, when you feel angry or a grudge or you haven't forgiven someone, you are carrying around that load yourself, and it's burdening you and it's stressing you out and it's literally killing you, because stress is like the biggest killer there is. So by not forgiving someone, you are poisoning yourself and you're making your own life and mental health worse. So the most important thing is just to free yourself. And even if you don't want to necessarily speak to the person and tell them that you've forgiven them or whatever it is, this is not an excuse for what has happened. This is just you releasing yourself and allowing yourself to live in peace. And this is something that I've kind of known for a while, but it was just a beautiful reminder to have Oprah talk about that, and again, just to share like such a personal story along with it. The third big takeaway I had was about taking care of ourselves and making sure to fill our own cups first. And this specifically, I am so happy that she focused on, because most of the audience was women, specifically probably between 40 and 60. And that age, I think specifically, like that demographic, really, I think, needed to hear that, because especially women from that generation, they were brought up to give, and as mothers, as wives, as women in society, I think the younger generations now are kind of being brought up a little bit differently, but we still struggle with it as well. But especially older women, my mom's age, my grandma's age, they have definitely been brought up to just give and put themselves last and make sure everyone else is taken care of before they even think about taking care of themselves. But it's so true that you can't pour from an empty cup, and you have to take care of yourself and make sure that you are whole and happy and content, because that's how you can show up as the best version of yourself and therefore be the best mother and wife and partner and business partner and everything. Like, it's just so important to take care of yourself first. And I'm really glad that I got to hear that from Oprah, but specifically I'm so happy for all the women in the audience that got to hear that. And just in general, Louie and I were saying that it was so cool to be in that environment, in a room with a certain demographic that we wouldn't probably normally spend that much time with, and just to be in a room of like thousands of women in their 50s or so. It was so empowering to see them getting empowered, you know? I think, yeah, that can be kind of a tough time for a lot of people, and it was just really cool to be in that energy and to see how excited and just like full of life everyone was, and how inspired they were walking out of that building at the end of the day.
What I really want is to be so full, my cup runneth over. So full that, as in the words of Maya Angelou, when you see me walking, it ought to make you proud, because I'm a phenomenal woman. To own those words, to be so full that your cup runneth over. And I know there's so many people in this room, women in particular, who have spent your lives giving to everybody, to the point where you are empty. You are empty, and being empty makes you tired. Being empty, you cannot give anybody what is the fullness of your being, what is the truest, highest expression of yourself, if you are running on empty.
And my last big takeaway from Oprah is actually very different from the other ones that I've shared. And it was something that she said that I actually don't agree with. And that in itself is a massive takeaway, because I obviously am super inspired by her. I look up to her. I really respect her. And, and I don't have to agree with everything that she says. And it was such a beautiful reminder, because nowadays I think we are so quick to just shut people out if they have different opinions from us, literally to cancel them and fight, and it's just such a like divisive time. But it was such a beautiful reminder that someone that I so have looked up to for so long, Oprah, can say something and I can actually be like, no, I actually don't agree with that. And that's okay. In fact, it's more than just okay. That is what makes the world and life exciting. Like, imagine if every single human on earth believed the exact same things you do. That would just be so boring, you know? Like, we have so much to learn from each other if we share all of our differing opinions and are open to learning from each other. So yeah, just that in itself, the fact that I was able to be like, no, that's actually not for me, I don't agree with that, and just move on and have like, I didn't lose respect for her in any way, the fact that we didn't agree on something. So that was great. And the thing specifically that I didn't agree on, she was sharing that now that she's 66, she's kind of, throughout her life, she's been earning the right to be able to pursue her passions and purpose. And she was just sharing that a lot of young people nowadays are like trying to find something that fulfills them, but they kind of need to just be happy having a job that makes them money, even if it doesn't make them happy. And she shared a story of, she actually has a school in South Africa, and a lot of the girls from that school, she kind of talks about like they're her daughters. And she was just sharing that one of the girls was reaching out to her and saying that she has this amazing 6-figure job. You know, it's super successful from the outside, but she is really unhappy and she wants to find something else that fulfills her. And Oprah told her that she just should be grateful that she has it and that she should stick with it and, you know, like make the money. And she even said something like, oh, that, you know, she comes from South Africa and she comes from like a really impoverished part of South Africa specifically. So for her to have a 6-figure job in America, like she should just be so grateful to have that. And then kind of like as she gets older, she can earn the right to do something that fulfills her. And I can fully understand that in her generation, that's just kind of how everyone was raised, and there were so many less opportunities to kind of design your own life and job and career, and there were just so many fewer options. So I understand that people kind of had to just like do something just to gain experience to be able to then get a job that actually made them happy, if they even ever did. But I definitely think that with the internet and with just how the world is so open, we can totally have jobs that make us happy and excited to wake up every day. And of course, I understand that people have different responsibilities and it's a privilege to be able to do that. And I think that the younger you are, the more likely you are to be able to have that privilege, because you're less likely to have a mortgage and kids and all these other responsibilities. Like, this is the time to quit the well-paying job so that you can discover who you are, because I don't know, I'm just such a huge believer in living your life today, because tomorrow is never promised. And the idea of like, oh, you know, when you're in your 40s or 50s or 60s, then you've earned the right to figure out what makes you happy. But what if you don't even get to live until then? Like, I just think life is way too short to not be living your dream. But that's my personal opinion, and Oprah can have her personal opinion, and we can coexist and still love each other no matter what. And then one more bonus one. So Oprah actually interviews someone at each stop of her tour, and in LA she interviewed J-Lo, who is literally like my top 4 biggest role models are Tony Robbins, Ellen, Oprah, and J-Lo. So the fact that I saw 2 of my top 4 in the same day was so crazy. And I love J-Lo so much, and I have so much respect for her. I think she's like one of the hardest workers in the whole world. Anyway, there was something that she shared in her interview that just broke my heart, and I had to share it with you guys because, again, it's like just so many lessons learned from that day. And one thing specifically that J-Lo said really stood out to me. So she was talking about how her last year has been like the best year of her life. She just turned 50. She was in 2 movies, one of which like killed it. Hustlers killed it, and she did so well. She went on tour, worldwide tour. She, from the Super Bowl halftime show, I feel like there was like 3 other things. She got engaged. Like, so many life highlights happened to her in the last year. And with Hustlers, there was a lot of talk around her getting nominated for an Oscar, and she ultimately didn't get nominated. And she was just sharing about how that was like really upsetting for her. And even more than what it meant for her, she felt like she was letting everyone else down.
Minnie thought you should have been nominated for an Oscar.
Thank you.
First of all, did you feel snubbed when people started saying you were snubbed for the Oscar? Did you?
I was sad.
Oh.
I was sad. I was a little sad because there was a lot of build up to it.
Yes.
There was so many I got so many good notices. Like,
Yeah.
more than ever in my career, and there was a lot of like, she's gonna get nominated for an Oscar. It's gonna happen. If she doesn't, you're crazy. Like, you know, and I'm reading all the articles and I'm going, oh my God, could this happen? And then it didn't. And I was like, ouch. It was a little bit of a letdown. Also, I felt like my whole team, like I said, most of my team has been with me for years, 20, 25 years. And I think they had a lot of hopes on that.
Yeah.
Like, they wanted it too.
Yeah.
And I felt like I let everybody down a little bit.
But you didn't.
I know, but I felt like that.
Okay.
I felt like that for a minute.
That just completely broke my heart when she said that, because you can just tell that she's so hard on herself and has such high expectations of herself, and she just values achievement so much to the point where she's literally achieved like some of the biggest things of anyone in the entire world all within a year. And then there's one thing that she didn't achieve, and she felt like she'd let her team down, that I just can't imagine, being around so much success and still feeling like this one thing didn't work out and therefore I've let everyone down. And it's, again, just such a beautiful representation that if we believe that we're not good enough and we're striving for our achievements to make us feel that we've done enough, no achievements will ever be enough, as is perfectly portrayed by J-Lo in this scenario, because like, what more could you want and expect from yourself to be seen as successful and like you've made everyone proud? And just again, a beautiful reminder for all of us, because all of us have these high standards for ourselves, and obviously J-Lo's are like way up here because of where she is in life, but that's kind of the point, that the more we achieve, the more we expect of ourselves to achieve. And just, a reminder to be proud of everything that we've done and not to be too hard on ourselves for all the little things that don't work out, because there's so many other things that we have done to get us to where we are right now, and those need to be celebrated. Okay, so those are my big takeaways from seeing Oprah and J-Lo on tour. And now a little story of how I got to meet Oprah. So I was not expecting to meet her at all. I didn't even know that was an option. Like, I figured she would just leave as soon as it was over. But one of our very, very good friends, Max, actually got us to be able to go to the VIP tent and to meet her, and a lot of other people that were meeting her. I didn't even know she was doing like photos of people. And actually, I never even told you guys, the flowers behind me are from her green room, and Max brought them over to us that night, and it was like just the most incredible surprise to wake up to the next day. So thank you, Max. But so anyway, like right as it was about to end the show, he gave us these bracelets and he's like, you can go meet her and take a picture. And I was freaking out. I was stressing. I was like shaking, and I was like, what am I gonna say? Like, I basically have a few seconds. We're taking a picture and I don't want to take up too much of her time, but I can't not say anything because she just means a lot to me, and I want to like take this time to tell her how much she's changed my life, basically. So I didn't really know what I was gonna say until the moment that it happened, and I've kind of like blacked out a little bit of what happened. But basically, I went up to her, we took a picture, and then I just turned to her and I like looked her in the eyes, and she was holding my hand. She's so like present with you when she's talking to you. I mean, obviously she's like literally the queen of making people feel comfortable and heard and seen and all of that. But anyway, she was holding my hands, and I just said to her, thank you so much. You have been such a huge role in my spiritual journey, and listening to your podcast has just really helped me open my mind and heart to people of all religions, and has just like helped me grow in empathy and to understand other people's experiences so much more, especially around spirituality. And something like that. That probably isn't exactly what I said, but something like that, because honestly, listening to her podcast has completely changed my life. And I did a video like ages ago about dating someone in a different religion. And listening to Oprah's podcast has helped me connect with Louis, has helped me connect with spirituality, and just so many other things. That's like a whole nother video that I want to make as well. But anyway, I said that to her and she was like holding my hands and looking me in the eyes, and I was tearing up, and it was just a really amazing moment. And then she said, go check out the book Bowl of Saki, S-A-K-I. I think that you will really love it. And I said, thank you, and I left, and then I walked out and I was like, I just literally got a personal book recommendation from Oprah. What is happening? What is my life? I filmed some stories for you guys on Instagram like right after I walked out, and I was just glowing and shaking, and it was a very exciting moment. But anyway, the book just arrived. I ordered it as soon as it came out. The Bowl of Saki, and I'd never heard of it before, but it is a beautiful little book. I only just got it, so I haven't probably looked through it. But it looks like for every day there's like 1 or 2 lines of wisdom, and I'm guessing it's a lot about spirituality and different religions. I don't know, but I'm really excited to read one of these every day, and just every time I pick it up, I'm like, oh yeah, my BFF Oprah recommended me this book. I thought that I would read you today's little line of wisdom. Man creates his own disharmony. Ooh, I love that. And that totally relates back to what I was talking about, forgiveness, and how, by holding a grudge, you are creating your own disharmony in your life. So that's perfect. So yeah, that is everything. I hope that you liked this video. I'm just really excited that I'm gonna be able to watch this back as well and remember that day, and just all the biggest takeaways that I had from, getting to see Oprah on tour. And tell me if you guys like this video, because I actually love going through these kinds of seminars and retreats and events and just like personal development spaces, and I would love to share more of my takeaways with you guys, because I'm just really excited to share more of my journey as I dive deeper and deeper into personal development and self-love. And hopefully if this can help one person, then that is enough for me. So let me know if you guys like this and if you'd like to see more videos like this, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Bye!